I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me. I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah.
Welcome to this episode of A Look Behind the Curtain with Chris, with your host, your friend in success, Chris Celeste. Now, I created this YouTube channel for two purposes. One, to really highlight the success stories of online entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general. And two, to really pull back the curtain on what it actually takes to be successful as an entrepreneur in the online space. You know, it's very popular to see all the glitz and glamour, the fancy cars and vacations all over the internet. But what does it really take for an entrepreneur like you or me to really have that lifestyle, to really become successful online? So each week, I'll pull out a different person and have them share their success, share how it is they achieved that success, and really pull back that curtain for you so that you can have the tools, principles, and resources that you need to achieve it yourself. Now, before I dive into today's guest, I really just want to cover a couple of housekeeping items. One, if you're finding value in these interviews, in this interview series, please comment your biggest takeaway and hit that like button. And if you want to catch all this content as it's dropping and not miss any of the value, you definitely want to smash that subscribe button and make sure that you have your notifications on so that you can receive it in your inbox as soon as it drops. With all that being said, let's bring out today's guest. Dakota, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on this show, brother. Honestly, it's an honor. I've missed you, so I like to start the show with just a backstory, letting the viewers know who you are. Where do you come from? Do you have entrepreneurs in your family? What got you into the online space, and where are you heading now?
Got you, brother. Awesome, man. And thanks again, Chris, bro, for having me on. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, and I've been looking forward to coming on and hanging out with you for a little bit and diving into some what I feel is some pretty cool content and a pretty cool story overall. I think the last, part of a decade has been such an adventure, and thank you again, man, for having me on here to even dive into some of this stuff. Originally, I am from Canada. I'm from a province called Alberta and a city called Edmonton. That's where I was born, and that's where I've lived most of my life, and that's where my mom is from, and my father, that's where they kind of raised me, at least for the greater part of my life. There's other parts, where we kind of moved around, but it's not really relevant to what we're going to go over today. I think it was interesting that you said to like other entrepreneurs in your family. I think that's a really good question as well. Growing up, I think that lays a lot of context to it. My father always worked in the oil rig, and my mom was a stay-at-home mother who did actually, through parts of her life of me growing up, try different entrepreneurship ventures, opened up a bookstore at one point, which actually did fairly well, and then ended up selling that. And other than that, that was pretty much her one actual venture that she did. And my dad was always in the oil field, and I was kind of expected to find somewhat of a trade or somewhat of a reliable, safe career in Canada. And for most of those Canadians who are watching this right now, we know that Canada's heavily based around the trades. That could be anything from electrician to, a welder. And I remember being in high school and even junior high, and the teachers were like really setting us up for it. Like, man, remember that the people who are winning the most right now, people who are making the most money here in Canada are the people in the trades. Always thinking like, oh man, what trade am I going to do? Which one am I going to like best? Like electrical, like all my friends were going to electrical, like welding. And my stepdad kept telling me about this one heavy machinery operator or something. I'm like, man, there's so many options. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I got out of high school deciding to kind of just get a job in construction in general, not actually pursue and do an actual career in one of those. So I was a chef for a little bit. Not a chef, but I was actually cleaning dishes for a little bit up north in Canada. I became a fire stopper. That was my construction job and one of my last jobs that I ever had. And I would go and I would caulk holes for a living, like put caulking inside of holes and make sure the fire wouldn't spread. And that was my job for 8 hours a day, sometimes more, for, I don't know, $18 an hour, 18 Canadian dollars per hour was my life. Just so happened that one of my favorite passions at the time was paintball. And this is where it kind of gets weird and interesting. I would go to paintball all the time, not ping pong. not paddle tennis or whatever you call it, but like actual paintball, like. And so I'd go all the time, and I had this really good friend who I met throughout the years there at paintball. His name was Cameron George, who, funny enough, was a really good friend who eventually ended up turning into my first mentor. And I'll get to that in a second. But just picture this: 17. No, what was I at that time? When we first started going there, I was still in high school, so I was about 16 when I first met him. Now fast track again to where I was still working when I was out of high school, working that construction job. Still friends with him, and he was having, consistent house parties. We'd get together, something, what young bachelors would do or young guys would do. We'd get together and we'd hang out. We'd party all the time. And one of the weekends I went over there, and it wasn't a party anymore, but it was more so like this celebration, or like this massive, like, man, I can't believe it. We're going to be rich. Like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on? Like, dude, it's just, we're going to be rich. I'm like, I don't know what the heck's going on. I was just super excited. I could see it in him. And it turns out, to save you the better part of a whole day that we spent celebrating, again, most of us not even knowing what the heck was going on. Really what he ended up finding was internet marketing, or affiliate marketing as we may know it, and kind of the understanding to the online workings and what that whole world was. He ended up, over the course of the next few months, ended up investing about $60,000 into education, into his first mentor, and going, heavily into debt. I remember driving around the city with him, looking to a place to sell his car, his Chevy Equinox, and we'd go dealership to dealership. And it was just me and him going to these places. I'm like, he needs cash for it, right? He's got to raise as much as he can to start his business, his online business. At this point, dude, our group of friends, our group of 20 best friends that we used to hang out all the time, play paintball, just get together, and it was like just awesome times. Everyone thought he was absolutely crazy, and he lost his mind, right? But I could tell from the conviction, I could tell from the certainty in what he was talking about, that there was something there. Not that I understood it, but I knew that there was potential in it. And it made somewhat of sense that, like, why haven't I ever thought that? Of course there should be something on the internet. Like, that makes sense. And here I'm just thinking about trade. So, like, I was always encouraging of him, even when I didn't understand. And he ended up diving deep into it. And that $60,000 in debt didn't stop there. And he continued to invest in more and more, and a lot more of his time. And as you know, Chris, and a lot of people watching this who are involved in some type of online business or affiliate marketing in general, we know that there's some type of a period that it takes, that you're investing your time and energy and full focus into making this thing work. Mm-hmm. Right. And fast track a little bit. And it was not too long later that I was still in Edmonton supporting him, going, dude, you got this. Cause I never said, I'm going to come with you. I said, dude, you got this. And he's now traveling. He was in like Jamaica, and then he's in Thailand, and we'd keep in touch every now and then. And he goes, 2 years later, he goes, Dakota, I'm coming by Edmonton. Do you mind? Can I stay at your place? And I'm still like fire stopping at this point, working some type of construction. I said, most certainly, dude, come by. So he comes over. And at this point, I start to move through the process of thinking, like, what if I started to move into this? Or, maybe this is something I can do. Cam was actually my first transition into this whole world of entrepreneurship. And he actually got me started through like a traditional way, even though he was online and doing sales online, like that you're very familiar with, Chris. He actually moved me into a traditional, like, multi-level, like, talk to your friends kind of model, to give me the basics of self-development, to get me into the basics of like what it takes in order to shift yourself from, employee to entrepreneur at the most basic level. And it was about 6 months to 9 months that I was heavily involved in like shifting what I was reading and what I was putting into my, my mental visualization of what I wanted to do with my life. And things started to change really quick at that point. It was starting to see my first type of income that was not from a job. It wasn't based around the hours, but it was based around the energy, the things that I was doing within that. Although it wasn't much money, I learned a ton of stuff through that MLM. That naturally led into how can I start to get more leverage. And again, something that we're both very familiar with was obviously the internet. And transitioning things from traditional multi-level now onto the internet. And from there, that was kind of the first phase. That was kind of the history of that section right there. Fast forward 9 months after that, I was having my first 5-figure months at that point at 19 years old, living in Thailand.
Awesome. That's crazy, dude. 19. Yeah. The very first interview I ever did on this series was Matthew Jang. And right. He actually references that. He was like, you were 19 years old, retired, traveling. And that's what got him, really right. serious about stepping in and getting you to mentor him and help him. So, dude, it's really cool to hear it, straight from your mouth, 19, basically retired, making over 20 grand a month and just doing what you want.
Yeah, it was it happened quick, dude. When you put that focus in and that mental shift happened, it was very quick. It was just a decision right in that moment. Like, oh, I don't know anything about this stuff. I really love Cam, and I just totally, I'm just gonna do it and just dive into it, man. And things really started to happen quick at that phase.
Sweet, dude. So you're in Thailand, you're making really good money. What kind of shift happened in your mind at that point? You're like, okay, I'm pretty young, I'm 19. I'm making really good money. Like what was the game plan in your mind at that time? What were you thinking? Like what was the future looking like for you at that point?
That's a good question. So at 19, when I was there and that was happening, I think things at that point were, I think it was consistent. Okay, what am I going to invest in next as far as education? That was the first thing, and how can I continue to grow my business? But really, I think the biggest answer to that would be the fact that where do I want to go next? Like it's my first time in Thailand. I was like, okay, I got about 3 months, right? I'm just starting to make money. Got to make this thing work. And it was in those 3 months that I ended up jumping up. My income was like hit. And once it stayed and was consistently coming in, I go, wow. I was like, okay, so now that we're here, what do you want to do next? Like, what is it that you really want to do? Is it like, do you just want to, and this is actually a really good segue into the next great point is like, do you just want to, consistently stay here and create marketing online, do affiliate sales and create your income that way? Or is there something else that maybe you want to do? Because you now have a skill set, you know how to market. And these are all things that are taught, and especially that and the information that you've gone through. We now know how to market, but it depends on what we want to sell and what we want to do. We have these skill sets to grow and build an audience, generate income online. So I'm like, wow, what does that lead me to next? We end up going to Colombia for a trip for 3 months. That was myself, Cam, and another partner of ours at the time. And everything that Cam had structured that time is what was called Project AWOL. And that was the start and the foundation of AWOL as a whole, as a company. And while we're over there in Colombia, this was now a point, okay, it's consistent. Now I'm like, and this is here to share complete honest stories, right? So at that point, I think at a certain part of my life, realizing that was coming in, one, I want to go and experiment and do other things. Number two, I wasn't feeling the full satisfaction, even though the income kept growing. I wasn't feeling more and more happy with more income that was coming in. And thirdly, I think I started to become almost like stagnant in the way, or like, oh, that's normal. You know what I mean? Kind of left the foundation of what maybe had gotten me there in the first place. Mm-hmm. As far as education and going like, oh man, and bring me here. Okay, boom, found this, stay here and do this. And so I got to Colombia, my mind was just going, and I fell in love with this country so much. And I go, man, like I want to live here. Like I want to live here. I want to build a life here. I want to build a community here. I want to build friendships here. And 2 months into the trip, I went into Cam's room. Remember, the guy who got me into all this. Now we're traveling together. We're doing this. We're both living, more success than I thought was possible. And I go, dude, let's stay here longer. Like, I need to live here a bit longer. He's like, man, that's not the plan. We got to go. Like, it's only fair. It's my choice next. We were all picking places, 3 months each one, then we'd switch. And yeah, it was kind of like, it wasn't the best of buddy moves that I had. But at the same time, I was following my heart and I knew I needed to stay. And he respected that. He ended up continuing going to Big White, and ended up a year after finding this house here that I'm in, staying right now, and purchasing this house right on the mountain, ski in, ski out. That was always his dream. And that's what he moved on to. I stayed down there. Ended up leaving the industry as a whole. Like, Chris, I left everything. And I knew even that all that income coming in, I said, I don't think that's what's making me happy. And I think this is a cool point of my whole conversation of why affiliate marketing, internet marketing, this education is so powerful. And I'll get to that at the end of this. But this is why now my slow transition and going, man, well, I know all this information. What if we started like a part-time like model agency there? Or I've never done that before. Like, who am I to say to do that? I'm 20 years old at the time. I'm sitting there with my other partner who knows information, the same information I do. So what do we do? 6 months later, we have a full in-swing, like 10 different models kind of, and the whole mission was to create crowdfunded and kind of promote the actual culture as a whole. And it was model for change, and they were modeling, going to charities and spending time with kids. And it was kind of trying to change the whole, like the imagery of like what Colombian models are. If you live there, it's not always the best kind of place to be or industry to be in. And we were kind of, hey, let's step in and see if we can change that. Cannot forget the fact that, income is also very important. And that was not happening at all for 6 months. It was fun. It was great, but it was break even. And because I fully left everything from affiliate marketing, yes, money was still trickling in from all the work that I had done in the year, I think it was a year or so prior to that. And it was still coming in, you know, thank God for that. But that eventually is going to stop when you stop putting the effort there. And that did stop. And now I'm at a point, okay, well, money's kind of dwindling down. This idea is definitely not working. We got to pivot. We got to do something. I find the universe is the most beautiful thing ever. And after sitting and contemplating what could happen, what's the next direction I'm going to take now, ended up having a meeting with a gentleman at a coffee shop. Actually, the same coffee I'm drinking right now. It's just boutique, beautiful, delicious connoisseur level coffee from Colombia. So over a cup of coffee, we start telling them some of the skill sets that we have and what we know about marketing and what we see happening in Colombia. Colombia is an interesting country in the sense that people who have Instagrams were actually selling products on Instagram back in 2013, just through direct messenger back and forth, way before I seen anything happen over here, way before ads on Instagram. They were like, here's my fresh peanut butter that we make, and it's for people who work out. Get it here. Just message us on WhatsApp and it'll get delivered right to your house. And I'm like, wow, man. Businesses here are already going big. I want to do something with Instagram. I want to do something with influencers. That was already happening there well before it was happening here. For some reason, they're ahead in a lot of ways and behind in a lot of others. And so in this meeting, he said, I can get you guys about $150,000 of angel capital, of a seed round, basically, to an idea that you guys have. Let's get an office built, get your guys' idea put into an app and a software. And that was a whole different adventure of itself. Now, here's this 19-year-old kid. I'm now 20, 21, I think, at the time, right? Used to be an affiliate marketer, now transition into this. And it's all from the same skill set that we had learned from the beginning. The same things that you've gone through, Chris, and now perfecting and looking at what you're sitting in front of right now, that check, right? Like all that information had led you to start getting results like that. And that can be applied in anything. And I think that's such a cool point to my story now is we don't only have to use it for that. I think we should start, and I think we should get ourselves free. I think we should generate some income, but then I think we should start to explore what else is we want to do. So coming back to that, here we are launching a social media company 3 years into this thing, dude. Like this was a whole adventure. We ended up going almost to $1 million in investments and really made a lot of noise in Colombia. There was a lot of successful moments. We worked with some of the top celebrities, top models, top actors, and businesses of the whole country. And just at a point of break even, we were starting to crush. We're starting to skyrocket up, and Instagram directly contacts us and say within 6 months, all companies offering services like you guys we now have the rights to basically shut you guys down, shut anyone's account down who are using your guys' services and softwares. And basically you got 6 months to pivot, or you guys could be in some legal issues. And we're like, oh my God, dude, we just hit this. Like it was a huge failure. It all disappeared. We lost everything, right? Everything. And that was towards the end of 2015, beginning of 2016. And this is where the whole story comes full circle. And I think there's so many aspects of it, Chris. And the one I really like to focus on is the fact that what I did at the beginning, that time investment to learn, the information that Cam had given me to dive into that, to learn it, is what allowed me to go and experience all these different things in life, to go find what I truly wanted to do. And after it was a lot of failures and a lot of success throughout all that, I got led to, after all that failing with zero, right? I have no money at this time. We lost all that investments. I got nothing. My fiance at the time, I'm going to have to leave the country and come to Canada. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm messaging Cam going like, well, that was a failure. I got to start over again, dude. I think I'm going to go back to Edmonton, get a job, start over and figure out what it is I'm going to do and how to get back to traveling or get back to Colombia. And he just laughed. He's like, why when you know that information, why would you ever go back to a job? You don't have to. Like, you could place a few different campaigns or run a few different campaigns online and start generating income again. You know that. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And I was like, the more I made there, the more success I had there, the more stress I got. It wasn't within my values. The company that I had, the more I thought I wanted to manage people and design the app, the more I was doing that and being boss, the more stressed I was. And it was like, man, everything I think I wanted that I was doing was making me more stressed. It turns out I wasn't living within my values at all. I was living throughout the values of society, what I thought I should be doing. And I sat and I thought, and there's a training that I went through that I know you've gone through as well. And it was how to assess your values. And I didn't know what they were. And I went through this and I came up with looking at it going, wow, dude, number 1's creative expression. Number 2 was friends and relationships. And number 3 was love. But yet here I am trying to do number 1, money, number 2, business, number 3, organization or whatever it was. And here, like, those are like so at the bottom of the list. And throughout those years, I was creating little videos every now and then. A big part of the story that I left out was that big ramp of success at the very beginning was that video, right? That Jang scene that I shot from Thailand that was a large part of my success. And that was a video that I personally edited on iMovie, right? Then my friends helped me shoot. We talked about the idea, and Cam really helped me get a good idea around between like how to impactfully maybe tell my story for it to be shared. And it definitely worked and went huge. And I realized all these moments throughout those years that I was doing video, I was like, man, I was the most happy ever. When I was busy all 6 days and Sunday was my only free day, that was the day I was editing. I wasn't just chilling, doing nothing, like napping. I was like, oh, it's my only free day? Oh, I want to do something I love. Let me edit. And I was like, edit. And I'm like, oh, I'll come with this little video. They would slowly go from shitty to like less shitty and like, oh, they're kind of cool. And that's where all my time and energy would go. And I go, wow, what if that's all I did? What if I invested all my time and energy into creating videos and creative expression? And that's exactly what I've been doing since 2016, full-time, nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I've been the happiest, brightest, most pumped dude that I've been in that entire time. And I felt like I've had more success there than I have in all those that other time combined, right? Just day by day, waking up to edit, work on a video, have full freedom to tell the story the way I want to tell it and show the world how cool it is, what we do here. And a lot of the content that I do is around your industry, is around everyone who's in affiliate marketing, online entrepreneurship in general, right? It's just amazing to be able to tell the world, like, hey guys, look at this, like take a look at this seriously, because this could be your key to freedom, to go find out what it is that you truly love and do that every single day, right? To get out of your financial struggle first, get your time freedom back, and then go start painting canvases, go start getting into public speaking, right? Whatever it is that we want to do, we all have this amazing passion. And I think what we're talking about here right now is our easiest avenue to get there, man. Get that financial freedom and go find that out.
Yeah. It's always great to hear, like, especially someone with your positive attitude, right? So you had a great skill, you had great success, you went out on your own, you failed, but it didn't
Right.
stop you. You had thoughts of going back to working, but you never lost the idea of regrouping. It wasn't
Right.
quit. It was time to take a break and regroup. And I think
Yeah.
that's a really powerful message that, entrepreneurs and even just a viewer who is, working a 9 to 5 really needs to hear, is that you only fail when you quit. And, there are going to be bumps in the road, but as long as you keep moving forward, your success will come. And it's kind of crazy because I didn't really know you when you were affiliate marketer. When I met you coming into this industry, you were a full-time content creator.
Yeah.
Some of your videos that I got to watch actually were huge inspirations to me to push through a lot of the obstacles I was dealing with.
Right.
Your Anything But Ordinary video,
Yeah.
where you were highlighting some of the really successful people within the industry. I mean, I watched that thing probably over 100 times when I first got started, just to keep myself motivated, to prove to myself if other people are doing it, I can do it too. Like, and I didn't realize at the time that was like you just living in your highest values. I just thought it was something you're really good at.
Right.
Then we had the opportunity to do an event together, where I got to know you a little bit better. And from that point, it was like, I understand why this guy creates content. Look at how, like, the passion you have for it.
Yeah.
And I know now, you've been working, in the affiliate marketing and helping affiliate marketers with content and stuff like that for a while. And that's how I was introduced to you. But I know that, here recently, you've also branched out and really started to take on more of your passion in individual projects. And really, you're back down in Colombia with your fiance, which is amazing. And do you want to kind of just like share a little bit about the other epiphany you had from going from creating content for other people then to moving into like being strictly your vision, your videos, your passion?
Right. Yeah, dude, that's a good one. And I think there's a lot of hidden nuggets we might be able to pull up from that. And I think that moment, and you've probably seen it, was at that event, right? When we were together. And for those of you who don't know, like, Chris and I did this most amazing 7-day event where we just went through and really just focused on ourselves and worked on ourselves to get out the best version of us. And that's definitely what came out of this event, man. I came out with the realization, okay, so I'm like, okay, I'm full-time creating content now for over 2 years, it seems like. I don't know what I was at. It feels like it was for a while. And the whole time it was here lending my skill sets to someone else's vision, which I was totally behind. That's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to make sure that I was a full, helping force to this beautiful vision that I fully bought into. I loved it. And I just slowly, honestly, started to disconnect with somewhat of the direction that they wanted me to go as a client. They're like, oh, if you could go more like this, more like this. yeah, of course, of course, of course. Until I started to realize that, again, what was happening in the past, I was slowly starting to disconnect from content again, going, oh man, is this becoming a job? Like, again, like this is a passion and should never be a job because I love it. Why am I feeling like this is a job? Could it be that maybe this isn't exactly the type of content I want to create? And that's exactly what it was. And I went back and I sat down with a certain person and basically said, look, dude, this is the way I need to create. This is what I need to do. And when you're certain about something, when you have that epiphany, you have to take action on it right away, right? You have to move. You don't go home and think about it. You don't, call your friend like, hey man, what do you think about this? When when you have that feeling of certainty inside you, like, yep, you just do it, man. Like you just go. And that's exactly what I did. I said, this is how I feel. I think I got to go and do my own thing, or you let me fully do whatever I want to do with your guys' vision. Next day, yeah, looks like you got to go out and solo, buddy. And I'm like, perfect. Woo! I'm like, here we go, man. It's all me. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. No solid, no guarantee anymore. No one client that's like, okay, man, I know I can have this. I could just coast. No, it's time to do your own thing. So since then, it's just been amazing because now I've been starting to create content for myself, and I have this idea of a series that's now not only conceptual, but it's now started and already the first kind of episode launched. I have the next 2 ready, and that's a series called I Love Colombia. And it's going to be a documentary series about how beautiful this second most biodiverse country in the world is that will eventually get picked up by an airline. Again, traveling for me is just so fun, and I feel like it really fits into my 3 values, which is, connecting with other people, creating myself, expressively creating creative expression and love. And to do that in new places is just so amazing. So I've started to create my mini series. I've shot my first short film, which is not edited yet and done. Like we're going straight to Netflix, brother. Like that's the route where I'm going now. And that needed to happen in order for me to continue that path, right? And those highest common goals, and always to go back. Goal number 1 was, man, if I could just get paid to create content on my highest value, that'd be amazing. Okay, done. If I can increase that to this, that would be amazing. Done. Okay, I got to make movies. And you're just consistently always going back and checking in with yourself to, what's my goal? Oh yeah. Okay, is it changed? Do I want to go a little bit further with it? Have I reached almost that point? Can I say yes? Okay, time to add on to that. I've created a group called Behind the Views, and now actually ready to lend this kind of idea to other people. And Behind the Views, what it is essentially, for the same cost of Netflix, you can be in my private Facebook group, and I will one-on-one watch your videos and give you reviews once a week to the entire community, so they can kind of see what to adjust and what to change. These are just some of the things that I've been adjusting inside of my life to make sure that I'm not tied down to ever the client, and I'm always connected with a passion. Tomorrow's Sunday, and no matter what Sundays, I'm going to edit something for me that I want to edit, that I want to see and put out to the world. And like I said, that's just kind of where the transition is going. Small documentaries next, all the way up till we get onto Netflix, brother. And I don't think it's going to take more than 2 years.
That's so awesome. I can't wait to watch that, man. Cannot wait to watch it. I already watch all you do now, the content you put out. I love it. And I can't wait to see that, on Netflix. That's going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing, dude.
It's going to be sweet, dude.
So you mentioned you love to travel several times. I would like to talk to you a little bit about, I know recently I saw you were doing some traveling for a company and doing content for them that allowed you to really get to explore and do some things. What exactly was that all about?
So it was a company, it was a client that I got, and it was after this whole change. I'm like, all right, I'm on my own. I want to find new projects and just have complete freedom. And it was a client that I found that was about traveling. It was in the crypto space, which is really cool. And they developed a platform that was essentially a way for people to tap into the blockchain and be able to guaranteed make sure that they get the lowest prices and beat out companies like Expedia or any of the other top travel companies, which turns out they're all owned by the same one anyway. And beat them all out by about like 30%. It was just, it's crazy the way that they're doing it. And I was like, you know what? I really buy into your guys' vision. I believe in it. So let's do it. And I ended up going through it all Europe with my fiance. They flew us out, and it was a great experience. We went to Amsterdam. We were in Paris. We went to Mexico a few times. And then at the very end of it, all the way up to Canada, and just put together what I feel some of my most creative and fun projects, because that was the type of thing, was like, whatever you want to do, you know what I mean? We trust you. And being on a topic that I love so much in a space that I'm so passionate about, it was an amazing, amazing experience. The company itself, can I mention it, or? Yeah. So yeah, the company itself was called Travel Block, and that was a cool experience of its time. After that, of the whole promo launch and everything, it was a 3-month kind of contract with them, and now it's just back and forth, and we'll see when we get another full round trip around the world on the next one. But as of right now, it's just been focusing again back in the space of working with affiliates again, helping them with their content. I've also started to bring on consulting clients as well. So I work with people who, let's say they have an editor, and I help them to create the highest form of content that they can do. And there'll be a weekly call. We'll get on, we'll revise all their work. We'll look at it. So I found like it's slowly transitioning to the point of helping in a bigger way and giving back in a bigger way, which is always the main focus, leveraging my time, better in a lot of ways, and not just editing anymore for income, but editing because I would like to edit. And these are the things that I want to do. And let me generate that income from, actually giving back from the information that I've learned over these last, I don't know, this is how long it's been now. It just feels like it's been so long, dude.
So, I mean, you've had the opportunity to do some very amazing things and have some big wins in this space. And, in the spirit of the show, we like to talk about some of the struggle too, just so that everyone has a full grasp. It's not all just, fancy cars and travel. There is work, and anything in life, there's hardships and stress and struggle. But
Yeah.
obviously the risk to the reward in this industry is way way more reward for risk. But what are some of the things that you hit along the way? Whether let's talk about affiliate marketing too. So like, what were some of the things that you hit while you were back in marketing? Then what are some of the things that you hit working with your passion that you kind of like stopped you? And then what was it that you used to push through it?
That's great. And I'll start from the beginning. Let's talk about the marketing side first. Like because I think everything goes in phases. And the saying that I love so much is every level has its devil. And it's like we think, oh, once we hit that certain level, once we're making this much, there goes all those problems, no more problems anymore. Like, no, you just have a different type of problem. So the ones at the beginning, and if anyone watching this right now is at that beginning stage and you're experiencing this, and I'm excited because you're not the only one. And for me, the biggest thing was the belief, you know what I mean? Like really understanding, like how hard is it to, Chris, the first time you heard about it and the first time you seen people online that were successful, they were making money, and you're like, you really got to look at yourself in the mirror and go like, I can do it. Like actually, I can do it. Like, and I was young, right? I was like 19, 18 when I maybe first seen this stuff. I'm like, and even when I first seen Cam doing it, I was younger than that. I was like, yeah, dude, you got this. I seen it in him. I could see how he could do it. I didn't really fully understand how someone like me could do it. Someone who, didn't crush high school, definitely didn't go to university, didn't go to college. Like, where's there room for me in an industry like this to generate income? So I think the first the first challenge was definitely belief. It was conquered very easily though. And that was through reading, and that was through consistent routine, right? Every single day. One of the most amazing things Cam taught me was, first of all, the books. And first book I read was Think and Grow Rich. My next favorite one after that was Happy Pocket Full of Money and How to Win Friends and Influence People. 3 amazing books. Reading those and sticking to it every day. Remember, there's a lag period when you're like in your mind, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. It's going to take a bit of time before you truly become that person, even though you've already chosen, you are that person now. Reality is going to take a little bit to catch up, and give it time. And every day I read, every morning I'd watch my visualization board, and I'd put on certain songs that I love to listen to. And I'd watch the same images every morning of like things that I wanted to do. Everything from like sampling wine in this mansion with like a party. And I would always imagine like, that's the party I was having, dude. We're all sampling wine. Look at it. And it was like to like cool extreme sports. And like, it was everything you could imagine or that you want. And I would just go through and watch every morning. And then I would write a whole page of who I am in present form. And it started off by saying like, I am a $10,000 per month earner. But as I kept going, even before I was making 10,000, I became 100,000. I was like, I am a $100,000 per month earner. And I'd write it, and it would be a full page of who I am. I'm happy, healthy, and very wealthy, and all in present form. And I'd go every morning with all that. And it's impossible now at this point not to believe in yourself, because you are that, and you put that in enough. It's like, I don't want to. There's a better way to say it. Maybe you have it, Chris, but it's like fake it till you make it. But I don't like the fake it part, because you're being it every day, and you're being it until you become it. I don't know. Is that right?
That's probably the best way I've ever heard it put, right? So fake it till you make it. You don't fake it, right? It's actually a sense of being. You believe it. So believe it, and then you achieve it. It's kind of, or I like the way you put it too. It's just, Yeah,
Yeah, be
it's
it till you
inevitable.
become it. That's Dakota's version. Be it till you become it. I don't know. Someone's probably said that at some point. Maybe that's why I heard it. But so that was challenge number one. I think was believing in yourself, and I hope some of you on this might relate to that, and you're going through that. And no, just keep reading and you know and keep going through your routine and put in that time, because eventually you know reality does catch up with who you are internally. No matter what, it's impossible it doesn't, and that happens. I would say the second thing now, when you start to experience any kind of success, the next challenge is remembering what got you there, right? That whole routine, everything and all that stuff, that fully got thrown out the window. Like once I was making enough money, I'm like, oh, perfect, dude. Like right on. This is good. Like got this locked in, like threw all that away, realizing like everything that I was imagining and visualizing, like it was all coming true and like, oh, perfect. And I don't know what it was. It was, I think, a complacent kind of mentality, or like, oh, I've made it, cruising. This is so comfortable. I could do this forever, you know, kind of mentality. So I think the second challenge is in the sense of becoming complacent when you start to experience your success over a certain period of time. And it could be, oh, wow, 5 months of a certain amount of income. You're making 5 figures for 5 months straight or whatever it is. That might be enough for you to go, huh, it's going to happen forever. Like I'm cool or whatever it may be. I think that's a second one. And strangely enough, the best way to get over that sometimes is like you got to learn the hard way, right? And you realize you got to go back down again to realize, like, you know, it turns out you have to be consistent with your mentality and what you're reading and what you're doing. So I've had those kind of ebbs and flows a few times since I started. And I'm 26 now, right? And I officially got started and fully free by 19 years old. So over those almost 7 years, it's been like, oh man, and now I'm going through one of those phases again. I'm just keen again. I'm on it. I'm working out. I am fully reading again. And that's been happening over an extended period of time because I realized, analyzing what was it that was bringing me the quote unquote things I wanted in my life, the success in my life. And it was the intentions and the work I was putting into myself in the morning. I'm reading a book right now called The 5 a.m. Club. You heard of that? But you're a 5 a.m. club kind of guy already though, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm already working out by 5.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're like, see me, I'm like, I maybe just sometimes just go to sleep by 5, especially when I'm editing, right? I'm like, I'm late nights, but I'm open to the concept of waking up really early. And I've always told myself, hey, I'm creative. I get my creatives at 9 p.m. and I edit till 3 a.m. or I'll edit till 6 and the best videos come out that way. But what am I missing, you know, from maybe waking up early? So I'm testing that right now and I'm trying that, always looking to improve myself. So back to the point, that's the second thing I think was the struggle, was becoming complacent. Those are, I would say, the two things as far as the marketing side. On the video side, you know, it's also very relatable. Same thing, consistently watching all these amazing people's content on the internet. I'm like, how am I ever going to catch up? You know what I mean? Like, how am I ever going to create good content like them? Like, this is so good, dude. Like, I'm crying. I would often go on YouTube or Vimeo, especially, and I'd watch videos and I'll just cry from the beauty. And I go like, how the fuck am I going to do that? You know, like, but same thing. It's the belief. And the more I'd watch, the more I'd learn, the more I'd produce, the more confident I would be. And then one day I go, you know what, dude, my content is sick. And I know I could do that. I got this. This next video is going to be the biggest. So I think the same things, man, in both. I don't know if there's one in video that might be different, if not even more so in video. It was just, I felt like I hopped late into the game. You know, I felt like I was behind in a lot of ways, but when you're driven by passion, you're going to work a lot harder, longer, and deeper than a lot of other people doing it just for work.
Yeah, dude, that's well said. And I mean, the consistency part, man, is huge. You know, I can really relate to that. You know, I had my really big first month. It was April? No, March. March was my first like big 5-figure month.
Right.
And
wow.
then
So a year ago.
Yeah, almost. Oh yeah, actually, yeah, a year ago now. Yeah.
Wow, dude, that's awesome.
So then in April, I had an even better month, and something in my mind was just like, oh, you're good now. You don't have to do this like all the things that we're working.
Yeah.
And May rolled around, and it was my first ever public speaking gig, and I had to stand there on stage and talk about my success, but I had to be real. I was like, listen, I'm not on track to break 5 figures this month. Now, I did end up putting my butt in gear and able to hit it, but you know, at that point, it was my realization. It was the kind of the epiphany moment where I was like, oh crap. I was like, that's exactly why I'm suffering. Like why my business is suffering is because I let go of everything that brought me there.
Right.
And, it was a huge game changer when I was just like able to stay consistent throughout. And then, I went on to have some of the hugest months I've ever had that summer because of that mindset shift. So it was pretty cool. And I'm glad you brought it up, because consistency is everything. Like if you can consistently do something, eventually it's going to become a habit. And then from there, it's golden.
Yeah, exactly. And on both sides, right? If you consistently don't do something, how quickly you get yourself into bad habits. And I've just seen both sides of it too often. You know what I mean? I think it gets a natural thing. I think as humans, like you said, you've kind of seen it. You caught yourself back up, and anyone watching that who's maybe going through that right now, maybe it's trying to get your butt in gear again, back to the basics, man. Consistency is key.
Yeah, and there was one other thing you shared that actually you shared with me way back when, that I implemented, and it was huge. So I just want to share this story.
Oh, I love to hear it.
Putting music to the vision board.
Mm.
So I built a vision board. I've been goal oriented for a while.
Yeah.
And I built out the vision board, and every morning, meditation, I would think about it. I'd look at it when, I would get distracted or I needed to remember what I was focusing on, and it would come across my screen. But it wasn't until I put like meaningful music, something that the lyrics actually meant something to me, that. And then I would sit there and throughout that whole song, listen to it. I was talking to Jeff Sclafani about this at lunch a couple months back. And I had 13 different dreams, goals, visions on this board. Yeah. And I was able to hit 9 of them in 1 year. And the big switch for me was adding that music to it. It was because it was internalizing. It was actually making it personal. Now I wasn't putting them on this pedestal basically and putting them out of my reach. I was internalizing that I was already there. And that's what the music was, that the lyrics were talking about, was how I already achieved it. Yeah. Despite what I've been told in my life, despite the fact that I didn't physically have it, it was already mine. And it was like a huge subconscious mental shift for me. And I just want to say thank you, because I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to say that to you. But, you sharing that with me, the music piece, was huge for me crushing goals last year.
I appreciate that a lot, because it's easy to take those kind of things for granted, or on the other side. But when you hear those, you realize like how powerful that really is, that emotion, and how fortunate I am to have found that information, right? How fortunate are we, Chris, to be able to find these tools and techniques of life hacking, man, of truly becoming our best selves and producing the most results we ever can. That one is amazing. And I think I got to find a few more to add. I've literally had the same 8 that I've had from the very beginning. And they're just it's so hard to find a replacement, because they're just mean so much. And now, let me know if you find the same thing. I don't even have to be watching the vision board. I'll hear it on a road trip. I'll just hear it. I'm like, oh, wow, dude. I'll even a little tear might even come out sometimes, depending on the environment that I'm in. I'm like, wow, dude, like this is, I got a crazy little story on the vision board. So I had this picture, and I think this one, we all shared one. So it was Cam, myself, and our other partner. Every morning when we lived in the same place, we're all working, hustling on this. We'd sit down, and it was most of the time Cam and I would sit down and watch the same one that we built. And he chose his one picture, and the picture I think was of Fiji. And it was a palm tree with a nice hammock like this, right? Just chilling, beautiful scenery with an island in the background. And you never know how these things are physically going to show up in your life. And this is an important one. You can't always define like, oh, it's going to show up in my life by me being there with my best friend or with my girlfriend, and we're going to be looking at it, drinking wine. Like, that's what it is. Yes, hold these visions true to your mind, but be open to the most creative ways that they can show up, and the signs of the universe going, oh, we'll physically create it for you. Here it is. So that image, we're driving, it's months after looking at this every morning, same music, going through, going, oh. And they're, just like you said, a bunch of these visions had popped up for you in reality. So here's how this one popped up. And we're driving in Thailand, and we're cruising. And we're, cruising through the alleys or whatever, and we see this art shop. And as we see the art shop, I drive past, and I just turn my head as we drive past it. And what's in the back, in the center, as their main piece right there, is that exact image from Google, painted, and just sitting there waiting for us. And I stopped, like, we get off, like, oh my God, dude, I'm having this moment. Like, you never know, like, yes, coincidence. Some of you guys watching, oh, what a coincidence. Like, yeah, it's a coincidence. It's two things perfectly coinciding at that moment. It was so meant to happen. It was so perfectly created. I'm like, wow. So that's how this one's going to show up. I'm like, let's buy it. We bought it. And that was our emblem in the house of like, wow, look how fast and powerful we create, guys. Like, that was amazing. And consistently since then, little things just show up in different ways when you realize, like, wow, man, I've been talking about this one for a while. An interesting game, I think. I don't know if you tried this. I think you and the family might like this. And it's actually, it's in the Magic, isn't it? They talk about the checks, right?
Yeah.
And in the Magic, I can't remember the exact game, but is it along the lines? Because the one that we played, it was every day for 365 days a year. On day one, you pay yourself $1,000. Day two, you pay yourself $2,000. Day three, $3,000, so on until $365,000 you're paying yourself. And every night you have to go and you have to spend that money in an imaginary way. You go, okay, well, with my 1,000 today, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy this, and it mentally makes you go out and exercise. Like, how would you spend $200,000 right now? Like, I would have to think about it. You think it's easy, but what are you actually going to do? And when you start at nighttime, it's a really fun game. As you start to go through and do these things, when we look back, and we didn't get that far. We obviously didn't do a full year, but when we look back, it was like 90% of all the things that we'd written down in some kind of way or another, we had ended up showing up into our life or purchasing or some way, having that in our physical reality. It was just, that one's a mind-blowing game that I definitely recommend trying.
There's a lot of power in that book. It's like,
Yeah.
but that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Also now, whenever I pay any bills, I write thank you on it. Like, there's so much that has changed for me. So yeah, great book. Give me 1 second, brother.
Yeah, no worries. So how cool is this, huh? Chris is crushing it, being productive, and doing the family thing at the same time. Amazing.
So yeah, dude, The Magic is a very, very powerful book.
Definitely.
And we're actually getting closer towards the end here. So I'm going to ask you, just a few more questions before we get off.
Yeah.
Basically, what I would like to know from you is, what does the future look like for you? What does filmmaking, you have the Netflix going on, you're down in Colombia, you're building this movement, you're trying to get, more of the Colombian culture known for the beauty it is. Is there more to that now, or is that the pure vision that you're going for?
That's a pure vision right now. I guess one of the things that I hadn't mentioned is another thing I would love to be able to give back with is I want to create a full curriculum of anyone who maybe is me of the past, who's like, and anyone who's me of the past is like, I want to go full into video, or anyone who's like, I just want to make my videos a little bit better. I want to have a curriculum that is perfect for everyone right from the very beginning to people who want to start going full time with it, and teaching the different roundabout techniques that I use. I didn't go to film school. I just learned everything online, and I learned from a lot of different people, a lot of different mentors. And I think that's a big advantage in a lot of ways. And that's why I bounce around a lot to a lot of different teachers. And so one of the things I definitely want to do is I want to give back, and I want to have a way for anyone to be able to learn from the most basics, how to create powerful, cool marketing pieces with their phone, all the way to, I want to create an awesome viral content. My fiance is about to hit 100,000 on YouTube organically. That's something I've been with her from day one when she had 0, and her Instagram's I think she's at over 200K now. I don't know. It's going so quick, dude. And so that was also something, like when we met, she was at 600 followers. And so I've been helping her with these things step by step. And after seeing, I'm like, wow, it really does work. It's not just things that I think that I could actually make an impact on a lot more people. So I want to put that into a curriculum. And that's kind of a double side of a way to be able to give back, and a way to get myself a little bit more time as far as moving towards that Netflix vision. And expanding on that, I think the world needs to know a little bit more clearly the direct stories about this industry, and actually doing documentaries on, like, dude, what is this? Like, I can't believe there's no short form documentaries yet, which I did hear someone in our space is coming out with one very soon, that I don't know what that's going to look like, or if it's just a marketing piece or what, but I want to go back to the raw form of really just telling the story from what is this whole thing we call the internet space for entrepreneurs, right? Like, what are they doing? And everything from these, stay-at-home mothers, vlogging with their kids to generate full-time incomes, to kids playing video games online, making $500,000 a month, to people like us who have such different backgrounds, join together and have such a connection through this industry, of helping people achieve freedom and get their lives back and get their time back. I think that story needs to be told. And I want to start that with short form documentaries. And I don't know what that looks like yet. it makes me nervous in a lot of ways, and that's why it's good, and that's why I can't wait to do it. So that's really what I've been studying and diving into on my free time, as far as learning, is watching these people who are doing that already. And there's a few people I follow who get their Netflix get their documentaries on Netflix and such. So I start to study that and watch, okay, what's that going to take? And I feel like I've been filming for the documentary from day one. Everything I have, I feel like we'll make it in there. And everything I film, I think about that part. Now it's just about moving into that direction and getting that done.
Awesome. Yeah, dude. I'm excited for your vision. I can't wait to see it come to true, and it will, come to fruition. I know it will. And I just can't wait to see it, honestly. So we are getting close to the top of the hour. It always goes fast. That's one of the things that I definitely going to have guests come back out, because the stories are just so powerful, and then an hour just isn't long enough to get all the good details in. Yeah. But I like to close out every interview with a 2-part question. And the question is, what would you say to an entrepreneur or someone who's thinking about coming into the entrepreneur space, but they're on the fence about it, particularly, online, because that's where we spend our time. And the second part of that question is, someone just became an entrepreneur. They have literally the world at their feet, the information at their fingertips. What would be some advice you would give to that person moving forward into the industry to maybe not get overwhelmed and to see that success? Right.
Well, for someone who's maybe on the fence, starting there, I think, and this one's an easy one. Like, if you're on the fence, you're already thinking about it. You're thinking about it because maybe you're not happy with the conditions that you're living in right now, or maybe you see there's some type of opportunity to better your life or your circumstances. That's why I looked into it. I'm sure that's why how Chris ended up here and where he is today. And if that's the case, you're on the fence. You've got to start. You've got to go. You do not want to imagine the things that you might miss, and it's just scarier. When I was, in construction, it was so scary, the thought of working that for another 40, 50 years, right? Because I was still so new into it. Some of you may have less time in your careers left, but it was so scary, the thought of continuing the way things were, that I was like, man, I can't not do this. So for those of you on the fence, definitely, it's just something you have to go and experience, and you have to do. You don't know until you know. The second one, anyone who's already started and they're moving, and any advice to anyone who started, just start sprinting. Don't, perfection, I think, is the enemy of done. And that's something so many of you who are starting need to know. That applies to everything. That applies to the videos and anyone I consult on videos, and that applies to your business and entrepreneurship in general. So often do we sit there and think of how we're going to perfect the perfect thing to get the best results. It's never going to happen. You just got to start, and you learn so fast by moving in the direction with full speed, and everything that you're taught and told to do, you go and you do it without worrying about being perfected. Then you come back and you look at it, and now that you understand it that way, now you can really start to look at optimizing things. But do not optimize anything before you've just started and start sprinting. So my advice to sum it up is just start sprinting and start breaking some shit.
Awesome. Perfectly said, man. Perfectly said. So I want to just take this moment and just thank you again, brother, for taking this time out of your day to be on this show, to deliver value, to share your story with the viewers. I know it's going to be very impactful, and I cannot wait for them to see it.
Awesome, brother. Thanks again, Chris, for having me on, dude.
Absolutely. And to you, the viewer, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day for watching this interview with me and Dakota. We both really appreciate it, and we know your time is just as valuable as ours, and we do really appreciate you taking that time to watch this video. And if you liked it, definitely hit the like button, and do me a favor and leave a comment. What was your biggest takeaway from this video? What was, something that Dakota mentioned or we talked about that really resonated with you? I really like to know these things because it helps me moving forward to engineer questions better, to get you your questions answered for you. And if you have a question that didn't get answered, that's burning to get answered for you, just leave it in the comments as well, and I'll be sure to ask that question on an upcoming episode. And, if you want to get this information as it's coming out, get all the new interviews as they're coming out, and stay on the pulse of what I'm doing, definitely hit that subscribe button. And other than that, thank you, and have a great day.
Bless.
Oh yeah, I'm stable. Oh yeah, no label. Oh yeah, you know me. I